What up? Me again, ready to dive into some talk about basketball. And I know you guys heard me hit that note. Trey Songz's probably looking to sign me right now after that performance. Yeesh. Let's get down to business. Today, I want to talk about who the best player is in the NBA going into the 2024-2025 season. As I sit here recording this for you, we are 10 days away from the start of the NBA season, which just so happens to coincide with a very special someone's birthday. Wink, wink, talking about myself. This is the greatest gift the world could have given me, because as you guys know, I love basketball. So, last season ended with a clash between the Dallas Mavericks and the Boston Celtics, which features two of the players that I have on my list of, I think I have 11 players that I think are in contention for being the best player in the NBA coming up next season. And I want to go ahead and just throw out some honorable mentions that I did not put on the list because I do not think they're going to be the best player in the league, but I think guys like John Morant, Zion Williamson, Paolo Banchero, those are the main three that I kind of glossed over and didn't think they are ready to be the top players in the league or the top player in the league. They are certainly top players in the league, but I don't think they are the best player in the league at this point in time. I also did not include Jaylen Brown just because as long as Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are on the same team, they're probably, people are not going to really consider Jaylen Brown as the best player. I think if Jaylen Brown was on a different team and he was really allowed to shine, as a solo act, it would be a little different. Then I think we would, we might consider him being the best player in the league. And I also did not put on Victor Wembanyama, even though there's a high likelihood that he plays way better than he did last year. But I still don't think that makes him the best player in the league. So let's get into it. On my list, I think I have 11 players. Let me just confirm. But I have Luka Doncic, Nikola Jokic, Joel Embiid, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Jalen Brunson, Jason Tatum, LeBron James, Anthony Edwards, Stephen Curry, and Kevin Durant. So I know a lot of you are probably going to say, oh, well, LeBron's too old, Steph is too old, KD is too old. That's a bunch of bullshit. I don't want to hear it. Those three guys are immortal in my mind, right? Like, they have not had any downtick in their production in years, and I don't see it happening now. And I think LeBron's going to be as good as he always is. I think KD is probably going to be better than he was last season, even though he averaged 27 points per game. And I think Steph is going to be a more impactful player, especially now that Klay Thompson's gone. Like, Steph Curry's really going to have to up his production if they're going to stand a chance to even make the play-in tournament. So I don't want to hear it. Those guys are NBA greats. They always have a chance to be the best player in the league. So, but obviously the last couple of years, they have not been the top player in the NBA. So I really think this comes down to who's going to be healthy and who's not, right? So everyone that I just mentioned played 70-plus games except for Joel Embiid, who played 39 games last season. And despite Joel Embiid only playing 39 games, he had the highest points per games number out of all of these players that I just named at 34.7 points per game. If you guys remember, he had that big 70-point game where everyone was kind of complaining because he was shooting so many free throws, yada, yada, whatever. I don't think it's a issue that he shot so many free throws. I just think people don't realize how large of a human being this is and how skilled he actually is. Like, despite him averaging nearly 35 points per game, he almost averaged 6 assists, 5.6 assists, and, was getting 11 rebounds a game. But I think the assist number is more interesting. And it's he's like 7 foot or 7'1". He's like nearly 300 pounds. And the guy can shoot mid range. He shoots threes. He has so many skills that you really can't do anything to stop him. And that's why people foul him. It's not like he's just getting the whistle more than other people. I mean, to some extent, and to the complainers' benefit, I do think that is the case. The NBA obviously favors superstars because they want them to put up higher numbers, but that's going to be a difference of maybe at most 5 points, right? Like, I don't think they're going to give guys free throws for no reason. I just don't think that that's the case, especially with a lot of these referees just basically swallowing the whistle on a lot of these calls. So I would argue that Joel Embiid is probably not getting as many calls as he should, which is a crazy statement, but you can see the same thing with Shaq. I think the only difference is like Joel Embiid is going to make those free throws because he's a really good shooter for his size. So, but Shaq was getting fouled left and right, and the reason is because how is anyone going to guard him? You can't, imagine an 18-wheeler truck going head on with a Honda Civic. Like, who's going to win that battle, right? Who's going to win that battle? You think it's going to be the Honda Civic? Yeah, I don't think so. So it's the same kind of situation where, like, Joel Embiid is just huge compared to the majority of the NBA, which the NBA is made of, giants and behemoths in the first place. But he's just that much bigger and he's that much more skilled. So you have to focus so much more attention and physical attention to Joel Embiid to stop him. So if Joel Embiid plays 70 games this year and has those same numbers, without a doubt, he's the best player in the league because you can't stop him. You literally cannot stop him. And I think that's the difference between him and Nikola Jokic, is that Jokic is a very skilled offensive player as well, but he doesn't bring that same level of attention from the opposing team's defense. He brings it in a different way where Jokic is going to just make the right play every single time because that's why he averages so many assists. He's always hitting the open guy if he doesn't have the right shot. He's just probably one of the smartest, if not the smartest basketball players in the league. But Joel Embiid just has way too much offensive firepower. He could literally, beat a team by himself. Which he's done on some occasions. Like, if it's Joel Embiid playing without Tyrese Maxey, he really was kind of beating the other team by himself. So I think it's unlikely that he's going to play a lot of games because his body, I don't think, can handle it. So when it comes down to who's going to be the best player, frankly, I think it's going to be a toss-up between Luka Doncic, Giannis, Nikola Jokic, and I really want to say Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, but I don't know. I really think it's going to be Jason Tatum because I think Jason Tatum has had a summer where he's like, fuck everybody. Like, everyone's been doubting me. Everyone's been doubting Jaylen Brown, and we just won the championship. Like, what else do I have to do? So I think Jason Tatum's going to come out with a vendetta to win the MVP award because I think he thinks in his mind that's really what he needs to, like, get people to be like, okay, like, this guy's one of the greatest players of all time. And I mean, he honestly should already be in that conversation because he's, extremely young and is just still, like, dominating the league, basically. And he is on one of the best teams in the league. He's on the best team in the league, right? But he's been on one of the best teams in the league for basically his entire career, right? He's played with so many good players: Kyrie Irving, Kristaps Porzingis, Jaylen Brown, Drew Holiday, Marcus Smart. He's played with so many really good players. And I think that's why people kind of treat him this way. To me, it's not fair, but it's hard to win MVP on a team where you don't have to be the guy who's really doing everything, right? And he does do a little bit of everything. I mean, he's averaging basically 27 points per game last season, 8 rebounds, 5 assists, a steal, and like a little more than half a block. So he's, in my opinion, the best player on that team. I think Jaylen Brown is close, but I think there's a clear distinction between Jason Tatum being the best player and Jaylen Brown being the second best player on that team. Still, though, they're the best team in the league by a pretty significant margin. So I wouldn't take that as shade towards Jaylen Brown. It's just, if you want to win championships and you want to win multiple championships back to back, like, you got to be on a team like that. So I think a lot of people got to pay attention to that, and frankly, that should factor a little bit more into the MVP conversation. But people have just been snubbing guys on the Celtics for a while now. I think a lot of people just hate them because it's hard to replicate, right? You don't see teams do this. Like, you've seen the Lakers do it in the past, but that's not really what it's about anymore. So honestly, like, Luka looks the best to me in terms of, stat-wise. I think he's going to, honestly, he could average 10 assists a game this year while still averaging 30 points per game. And he might average 10 rebounds. Like, there's a very high likelihood that Luka Doncic averages a triple-double this year. With the fact that they added Klay Thompson to the roster, who really just has to hit open threes, like, it's going to be, like, Luka is literally going to turn into, Jason Williams, white chocolate, European version. It's going to be crazy. He's really going to be diming guys out. And, like, Kyrie is still an animal in his own right. Like, you can't contain that guy either. So I think the Mavericks are going to be great. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see Mavericks versus Celtics again in the finals, right? But Luka, in my mind, personally, I thought was the best player in the league last season. I think he's still going to be the best player in the league this coming season. Whether or not that translates to an MVP award, that's kind of up to the voters, but I could see that happening. And Giannis, I think, is upset with how last season ended. It seems like there's something, kind of holding him and Damian Lillard back from kind of building that true chemistry. I think, me personally, I really think Dame should have stayed in Portland. I just think he's one of those guys where I don't think he does well with change, right? And that's not a knock to him. I'm not really a guy that deals well with change either, but, it's not really. I don't think Dame and Giannis fit well together. And that might be a hot take for some of you guys, but I just don't think they really have the recipe to do what they need to do to make it far in the playoffs, right? And maybe I'm getting ahead of myself because they really didn't have a full team at all to, play against the Pacers. And the Pacers wind up getting to the conference finals. So it's very well likely that could have been the Bucks versus the Celtics, which I think if that was the case and it was a healthy Bucks team versus, a healthy Celtics team, I still think the Celtics are coming out on top because who's guarding Porzingis? But, it's going to be a difficult, road for them regardless. And I think the fact that Giannis has Dame on his team is a little bit of the, the Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown thing where it's like, well, can you really consider him the best player in the league? I think Giannis is still probably the most, I don't know, I want to say, everyone was basically referencing him as, the new school version of Shaq, which I think he's, that's not a off-base claim. I just don't know if his dominance is as high as it was during, like, their championship run, but I don't know. So I think, me personally, I'm going to throw it up and say I think Luka Doncic is going to be the best player in the league, starting, next season. And I think it's more likely than not that it translates to an MVP award, but I'm probably going to make a video on that as well, who I think is going to be the MVP for next season. But I think Luka has a decent shot. So Luka Doncic, best player in the league, 2024-2025 NBA season. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. Would love to hear your thoughts on who you think is the best player in the league going into next season. Hit my line, guys. I'll catch you with the next one. Peace.